We're on the eve of Thanksgiving, and I know for many of us, holidays can bring up a sense of grief. For some, it's people they've lost along the way. For some, it's a remembrance of a positive childhood, and now we're the adults who have to kind of perform and conduct these events, and we long for simpler times. For some of us, we struggle with our family, those who are still, living and active. And we wish that we had a stronger family structure with more love in it. For some of us, we never had really holidays, right? And for others, maybe we're very far away from our family. Maybe they are loving. So, yeah, a variety of reasons that we may feel grief around the more recognized holidays or the lesser recognized holidays, which may be its own form of grief. But I, as I am preparing myself for the space between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which are holidays that I celebrate loosely, but I want to create tradition in my home for my son. I am struck with grief. I look at the scene that I'm about to show you here, and I'm overcome with gratitude that the life that I can provide my son is of higher quality than what I got. That gratitude comes with grief as I continue to mourn what wasn't in my own home. I grew up in poverty, though I am reminded that poverty is so much more about mindset than it is what you actually have, what you have in your bank account or what you have physically in your home, what you can give. Poverty is much more about the kind of mind frame or thinking that I'll never escape this. It's like this forever. It's a state of really a depression. And I lived in that a lot. There are small shining moments where that was overcome. There was a year where Salvation Army provided toys for me, and I got, oh my goodness, a ton of toys, and it was so unexpected. I was probably 7 or 8 at the time, I think, and I was aware that Salvation Army was bringing the toys, right? I didn't wake up to a tree that had presents underneath it, but that didn't matter because it was the best Christmas that I had as a child, still, to date, and past that as far as I'm concerned. But a lot of my Christmases looked like waking up, and if we had a tree, it was empty underneath. Sometimes that's because my mother had purchased gifts and kind of not been able to hold on to them. Sometimes it's because we simply didn't have the means or the money. But I think so much more painful than that because, you can, even as a child, and you see that your friends are having much different experiences than you can overcome some of that if you have a present parent. But mine hid. She hid out of shame. So I woke up on Christmas morning to an empty tree and no parent. And that hiding was prevalent throughout most of my life with my mother. And I don't blame her because she just didn't have access to the tools and resources that I do, because I didn't grow up like she did. I wasn't programmed like she was. And I still struggle or have struggled with things that she has struggled with because she didn't just out of the blue become the way that she was. It's not like she was just born an alien into this family, this structure, this environment, this world, this culture, this society, and she was just different. She was conditioned. And so my grief, as I look at Thanksgiving tomorrow, which for the first time in a few years I won't be hosting, I'll actually be with a few different friends in their family settings, which I'm grateful for because I don't really have a family to gravitate toward now. And my grandmother passed away in 2008, and I think it was either 2007 or 2006 where she stopped doing Thanksgivings anyway, but also I was in foster care at one point. So that holiday was disrupted and disturbed fairly early. Um, so I didn't really grow up with any sort of steady traditions. I had other adults who stepped in at variables at varying times as well. But a lot of times what they would do is purchase me necessity, right? Like pajamas, because I never had any. And while I can understand from the adult perspective that that's logical and it makes sense and it's a gift, for me that hurt deeply because it just reminded me that my needs weren't taken care of unless it was seen as a gift. And it's a wound that I still work to heal today, knowing that that was not the intent, but knowing also that that child was wounded by that. And so instead of battling the logic with it, no, child, that's not what was meant, I just have to let myself feel, grieve, process, and then come to the acceptance of what my logic already knows. And it is the space for me of being grateful for all that I do have and still knowing all of the different ways that my inner child felt, failed, wounded, unseen. Now that I'm out with that, enormously grateful, enormously grateful that already a month from Christmas, a month before Christmas, my child has a Christmas tree full of presents just for him with things that he likes and cares about. He values non-essentials because his needs are cared for, right, in the day to day, and they don't have to be made into a present. And even though it's not perfect, I am definitely operating as a single parent and I have my own struggles with emotion and connection, but I know that. And so I put forth valiant effort to connect with my child in ways that I wasn't connected with, which in turn builds the relationship with him and heals my own wounds in many different ways. Most of my friends have disorienting, disorganized family structures. Most of my friends have done a pretty good job of patchwork, finding people in the world to take in as their own family, our chosen family. I'm working on that. I relocated about 6 years ago, so what was familiar and was already established got shaken up. And those connections, as we know, are much harder to keep in distance. Not impossible, but much harder. So I'm grateful to be here and to be alive and well and healthy and hopeful and escaping poverty mindset every day, every second of every day. Knowing that even though I am leaving my big techie corporate job, that frankly, if anything, I'll be doing way better monetarily. This is a bit of a downtime, but clearly I'm not living in poverty because we have our needs met and our wants met. And my son already has way more than I had, and I don't mean in the physical sense. I mean, even though his parents aren't together, he's got two parents who show up for him and love him. He is supported in this world. I didn't even have one, so for him to have two, I've done exponentially better than what I came from. And, you know, for me, that's proof that this whole life thing that I got, kind of sprung into, I kind of believe that my personal belief, mine for me, is that I actually chose this path before I was on it. And when I remind myself of that, I'm reminded that I can handle this, that I've got this, that I chose this. And I chose this because there are all these things that I wanted to learn from this particular path. And so when I combine the allowing myself to grieve those parts of me who, even though I have the logic, the emotions haven't quite caught up because they need the space and the patience to just be. And I couple it with that, the fact that I'm actively doing better than what I came from, that I've learned, that I've sought out experiences better so that I could reprogram myself, and that I am actively acting redundant and I'm acting on those experiences, that I'm pulling from the little pieces of patchwork love that I have found along the way. And the core belief that I hold, I have two of them for myself. One, everything is in perfect working order, even when it looks like it's all falling to fucking hell, to ruin. And my second is that I chose this life, this exact life, because I knew there was something to get out of it. And I center myself and I find peace amongst what could otherwise look like chaos. Thanks for watching.